and brother, Doctor. I'm giving him Doctor.
You call
Doctor.
me
Can I can I
doctor.
call you can I call you Doctor Victor Lewis?
You're welcome, sir.
Because doctors prescribe remedies.
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 Right.
Well, they're supposed to prescribe remedies. Okay.
Supposed to. Wonderful,
And
wonderful, wonderful.
you're a former law enforcement officer, are you not?
Correct, sir.
And I mean, Victor, what? How do you feel? I know you have something to share with us tonight, and I want to open up the floor. Of course, welcome you to the show tonight. But how do you feel when you see what is happening in this country, and you hear some of the ludicrous offerings being made by this administration in an effort to curb this ongoing epidemic of crime that we're facing?
You use the word curb, and curb from a synonymous perspective means to reduce, or to bring under control, as the case may be. But before I get to that, good evening to you and good evening to the
Good
loyal
evening to you as
opposition.
well.
I was watching the show there just now relative to Dominica, and your sentiments are so true. Down there was in a total state. I was there during the time for the repairing of the roofs. So I was in Salisbury, and I was high up on a mountain to the east of the actual area that bridge was washed away. When I said a whole bridge gone to the sea, a whole bridge, everything gone to the sea, and then the other bridge there, close to St. Joseph, that experience was a very mind-boggling one
Hmm.
when you saw the ravages, the destruction that those folks experienced, and then had to live through it, and then to be saddled with that kind of behavior then in 2019, was so unfortunate. So we must continue to reach out to Dominica and do whatever we can as a people to keep them on the path, and to do whatever we can in terms of the restoration, not only from an economic standpoint, but also from a social and political standpoint, that level of stability that we can find being part of that domain again. I want to get back to this whole aspect of crime, Dr. Ferdinand, because, we must understand or be able to appreciate that crime is a business. It is a business. And in this business, we know very well that lawyers play a very significant role. They're either there as a defense lawyer or they're there to prosecute. But lawyers play a very significant role in the whole process of crime. So, we're talking about curbing, but is it in the best interest to curb crime when we know, and it could be quite ironic, but who leads our country?
Hmm.
Who leads our country? A lawyer. Who's the attorney general? A lawyer. Who goes to the court and stand up either to prosecute or to defend from money, as we know it? And we know that we can recall the whole concept of money. So crime is a business. So the more crime we get in this country, those individuals who either prosecute or defend, business is good for them. And I think it is rather unfortunate that we have found ourselves as a country. I'm not saying that all criminals or all lawyers are criminals, of course not. Certainly not. But crime is a business. And we know very well that what occurred recently with respect to those known criminals in this country, and the extent of the thousands of dollars that were paid with a view of allowing the statistics to look good in respect of crime. But crime still continues. And I sat and I listened to Marcia last night, and I could have felt the pain
Yes.
when she spoke about that 76-year-old lady. 76 years old. And I mean that resonates with us. When we saw what happened to that guy on Belmont Road,
Yes.
you know, I mean, how can we sit down as a people and allow crime to continue like this? And I want to take you back also, Dr. Ferdinand, to my days at Allen School. Because as a management team, when you pass through that door, male or female, you must look the part. There are standards, there's a level of discipline
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that we enforce in our children. But what has happened under this administration? Do the profile for criminals now. I mean, we can see it. I have seen so many criminals, and let me take back the word criminals. I've seen so many victims. I've seen so many individuals who became victim of gunshots, who have gone to the far beyond. And every time we took a photo of them, there are certain things that stands out. Name two of those things, brother Ferdinand. Man. Two common things in those photos that you see, man. Two
Would I
common
be correct?
things.
Would I be correct in saying number one, youth, and number two, men?
No, well, those are true. Of course, there are more males than females. And of course, they're young because the average age could be in the 20s. But two dominant things that stand out in all those photos is the hairstyle and the chain.
Oh,
The
right.
hairstyle and the
Okay.
chain.
Okay.
Come
Okay. Well,
on, Mr.
I can't
Ferdinand,
go.
wake up, man.
I can't go to the head of the class.
Yes, man. No, 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 man. No, man, no, man. You must do your homework, man. Yes. Every
Uh,
time you see a photo, in 90 something percent of them, you see a hairstyle, and that hairstyle now is reflected in how our boys are going to school in primary and secondary. So what are we doing? We are producing a business for more criminals. And I want to say to who the gentleman again that got him down in St. James North again. Bear with me, because who the
you
guy,
mean Mr. Chad Blackman, I believe?
Mr. Chad Blackman. I
Yes.
want to call upon him if he has any wisdom, if he has any backbone, stand up and change that. No person could walk through the gates of Allen School unless your hair was of a certain height and cut neat. No tight pants. Those things. I said, no, no, no earrings. Now I am seeing primary school children with earrings in their ears and all kind of haircuts that when I look at them, they look just like the criminals. They look just like the victims of crime. And whenever we do a profile now, look at all the profiles that the Barbados Police Service sends out for us, then known criminal, armed and dangerous. They asking him to report to the nearest police station, accompanied by a lawyer. Of course, a lawyer again. You know. And
Well,
every time we see those photos, Dr. Ferdinand, they look just like the school children. We are preparing our boys, mainly boys, because the girls practically look the same way. They might got all the donkey hair and all the other things, as far as the trappings are concerned. But those boys look now and feel within themselves that they have been emboldened to behave like criminals on the ZRs, on the transport board buses, in the schools. That's why, what's going on in Princess Margaret School and Frederick Smith and all the above, you know, those are the problems. how those guys feel now. They have been emboldened and they tell you straight to your face, you can't do us
You can't
anything.
do me not. You can't do me nothing.
Ooh,
But didn't
ooh.
we have, Victor? And I stand to
Mhm,
be corrected. You can correct me. Because back in those days I was a child. But didn't we have better liaise between parents, or should I say guardians? Let me say guardians, which would include parents, grandparents, even village members, and the schools and the administration of schools, where parents knew that their children couldn't leave to go to school a
mhm,
certain way, so
mhm.
they couldn't leave home. I remember back in those days, we all had afros. I don't know if you, I mean, both
Yeah,
you and me
I had my
have.
afro too. I had my afro too, man.
we don't have
And of
we don't
course,
have
man.
enough now to
Yeah.
have afro, but the afro had to be trimmed. You
Mhm.
had to be tidy. You
Yes.
had to have on your epaulets. Your
Mhm,
school socks could not be at
mhm,
your ankles. They had to be up by your calves, your shoes, everything. But wasn't
mhm.
there greater cooperation between parents and guardians and schools in those days? Not that it was perfect, but wasn't there greater cooperation? I mean,
Well,
today you get parents going to schools to fight with teachers who
mhm,
would take away a cell phone from a child using it during class,
mhm.
confiscate it that they may get it back in the evening, and the parent will turn up to fight with the teacher at the school.
Yes, but Dr. Ferdinand, and I can say Reverend Ferdinand, that the Word of God says to us, that children will be getting children. So we've reached a stage now in 2025 when you see a mother or a father comes to the school, technically speaking, there ain't much difference in the appearance in terms of age, one, their actual demeanor, their deportment, all is reflective of a society that has gone 360. The standards now are far below expectations. That's why you have some young teachers out there now, because the majority of them now, are relatively young, and they're challenged. They're in a society now where everyone has a phone. Before you can speak well, you're being recorded, and that recording gets to the parents before you can even leave the class. And the parents are waiting either on the bus or
Oh,
waiting, you
you
know.
know,
I'm
I'm
getting a bit
getting a
of
bit of
feedback
feedback
here.
here.
I'm getting
I'm
a bit
getting
of
a bit of
feedback.
feedback. Yeah,
Yeah,
they'll soon
they'll
have
soon
that.
have that.
We've been getting that as a little challenge when we bring up
Yeah, 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 yeah.
some of the clips,
Right. Hmm.
where the clip itself probably it has an open mic situation, but they generally will catch it before it goes too far. But I'm reading the comments as we speak as well. That of course we know that the hairstyles are not necessarily, Victor, the issue, because the hairstyles, how they're kept, how they're maintained is I think mainly the issue now, more than just what the style is, because we recognize that styles would change over time. I mean, there was a time that we could wear afro at school at all, period, but things have changed. But what I observe is the whole aspect of parenting. I mean, we in the church see this as a challenge as well, the whole aspect of how parenting occurs. And you said something just now that is very, to my mind, very important. You have children raising children. Back in our day, it was not just our parents who raised us. It was literally, I mean, to talk about a village raising a child, but that was literally the situation back in our day. Literally.
Hmm. I don't have a difficulty. I don't have a difficulty with a natural hairstyle, and this is the
Mhm.
degree of subjectivity that comes in now, you know. I don't have a difficulty because they show the photo there just now, and they show the
Uh
photo
huh.
with quite a lot of ladies wearing the natural hairstyle. And natural could be a bit ambiguous because what do you mean by natural? Relative to who? Who sets the standard? Natural to who? You know, are we waving our way back to Africa? Because if you go and look at those Africans, the majority of Africans that I see on my little TV here, you know, they wear bald head, you know, a lot of them. Bald, cut the hair. A lot of those children you see going to school in Africa, the haircuts low. But of course, discipline, you know, is something that we ought to enforce amongst our students. And I'm going to be conscious of the fact that when a child reaches a point where they have gone off to community college, the polytechnic, or they have gone on to some level of post-secondary education, tertiary level as the case may be, they have then the liberty to dress how you want to dress, to wear your hairstyle how you want to wear it. But the school ought to be seen as an institution that enforces discipline. These are the standards of this school, and you are expected to follow these standards because we're not only there to train our students in terms of the academics, there's a level of discipline that we have to be concerned about because we're preparing our students to be part of our society. Yes, bring it in there, bring it in, bring it in. I don't know what school is this. I don't know if you're coming in from Africa, but look at the lady, look
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
lady there sitting on the ground. You know, look at
It
the
looks
lady
like
there
a, it
sitting on the
looks like
ground.
a, it looks like an African.
Yeah,
It looks like an
but
African.
you see any of them that look like the other photo we saw just now? Look at those. Look at them. You know, and I don't know. I would assume I'm seeing here male and female. I would assume so.
Yeah, I
You know.
think this is from you remember Dave and Marcia actually went to Africa, and I believe this may
Hmm.
be a clip from Kenya. Um,
Hmm.
this may be a clip from Kenya, but
Yeah.
the point that you're making, though, to my mind, needs to be reinforced, and that's the aspect of discipline. um,
Discipline.
because the first experience of authoritative relationship occurs in a family. That's the first
Hmm.
encounter a child has with authority. And if that
Hmm.
authority does not institute in that child's mentality, because a child is born, as we would traditionally say, a unwritten book, plain page, nothing
Precisely.
there. So that
Total ignorance.
the teachings that that child receives within its first institutional realm that should be engaging it with discipline would be family. And then
Hmm.
I think the second would then be possibly church, and I think between church and school, so that you would then get
Oh
a
yes.
transitioning,
Hold it,
of
hold it, hold
into
it there, hold
vocal.
it there, hold it
Yeah.
there, hold it there, Dr. Ferdinand. Hold it there. Look at these folks. You see any of them that look like our boys? You know? And I hold no apologies. The boys in our schools now, primary school and secondary schools, all of them that dress with those hairstyles, all of them look like criminals. They look just like the folks that we see when we take photographs for wanted criminals by the police. When we take photographs of individuals who are victims of gun violence, not victims from the perspective of having done wrong, but in the majority of cases, those victims were the perpetrators.
Hmm.
And of course,
So
we
what you're
know that none of them bring back the photo there, Dave, man. Bring back the photo. Let the people see it. You know, let the individual in the Ministry of Education see it. Then if we think within ourselves based upon our leader who wants to, get on the stage and, pump a set of going back to Africa. If we're back to Africa, this is what we're back to. We're back to beautiful haircuts. beautiful haircuts. Bring it low. A nice rung up. That's how we had it. Coming up in primary school and secondary school. After you then go off to community college, then you could wear your hair a little longer. You don't have to comb it if you want to. That's in community college after you've been through a process of discipline. Look at those beautiful guys, man. Look at
And
that.
you see what you're speaking to is the foundational development, so to speak.
Yes,
And
give
you
them
know
that root.
you shifted over from calling me doctor a moment ago to calling me Rev. So
Yes,
permit me
man.
to quote another biblical verse
Go ahead,
that
my brother.
says, "If the foundations be destroyed, what will the righteous do?"
Mhm,
If the
mhm.
foundations be destroyed. So what we are, and mind you, just keep in mind though, um, uh, Victor, that a lot of these images you're seeing here are actually girls, huh? A lot of these folks you're
Actually,
seeing here,
girls,
mixture of girls and boys. But getting
precisely.
back to the verse,
Mhm,
these foundational morals and values. We're not
mhm,
talking about we're talking about what is right and what is wrong being instilled in a child, because the Jesuits say, "Give us a child for the first 7 years, and I will show you the man." That's what they say. And from a psychological standpoint, when we are ministering in our churches and we are going through what we would refer to as deliverance sessions, we take adults as far back as their childhood so that we can see what was enshrined in them at their childhood that has
mhm,
resulted in what they are today as an adult. And
mhm,
so I understand the point you're trying to make, that because we have shifted away from some fundamental values
mhm.
that we as a society establish as a standard for our children, we are, what is it? If you sow to the wind, you will reap the whirlwind, I think is how the verse
Yes, yes,
puts it.
precisely,
And,
precisely.
and you're saying now, as a result of sowing to the wind,
Mhm.
that what we
We
are
are
reaping now is the
the
whirlwind.
whirlwind. Mhm.
Here's
You
another
know.
picture of a young lady in
Mhm.
Africa. And I am not. I will tell you a little joke if I can, because I know we have a few minutes running, and we do want to do. I
Uh,
think there's a video they want to do to during this segment. Victor, if it's okay with you, uh,
yeah, that's no problem.
with the mic on the move. I think it has to actually do with the matter of the tint. I stand to be corrected, but I think it does, because we want to touch on that as well. But
Mhm,
um, I was saying that some of these um, things that we see today, let me put it that way, these things that we see today, our values have been gradually but quickly being eroded and
mhm.
continue to be eroded. As a result of that,
But you
maybe
you
what we're
you made
seeing.
a statement there just now. You said if the foundation has been removed.
Yeah,
But I would
if the
want to say to
foundation is
you,
destroyed.
when the foundation when the foundation has been removed, this is what we will experience. So
Mhm.
our foundation has been removed, and this is why we're experiencing what we're experiencing now.
Mhm.
You
Well,
know?
and again, we understand the aspect of differences of cultures. We know how people are in Africa, and I dare say that you can't dress the same in Africa as you dress up here, because the heat down there would cause it to really change your whole perspective on how you get about your business. But
Mhm,
certainly in terms of what we establish in children at a primary school level, I mean, there's some activities I see that parents engage at a primary school level that I don't think are, is sending a correct message to a child at a primary school level. And as
mhm,
that child develops, if it's not uh, disciplined, if it is allowed to do whatever it wants, watch whatever it wants, then what you're doing is you're actually setting that child up for a disaster in the future. And I don't think a lot of parents appreciate the fact that a lot of what they are allowing in terms of, you hear people say, well, she's just a child, she's just a child. But there's an aspect of discipline what is it? What is it again? The scripture says you're pushing me back to my reverend. Train up a child in the way it should
It should
go,
go. Hmm.
and when it is
Hmm.
old, it
Hmm.
will not depart from it. Victor, when it talks about old, it's not talking about when you get up at your age.
Mm-mm.
Notice I said your age, not ours. Your
Yes.
age,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
okay? It
Yes,
is
sir.
talking about when the child begins to grow whiskers and has armpit hair and hair developing on its chest.
Hmm.
Now, I'm looking here. Was this something you sent to them?
No, I'm not aware of that.
Okay,
You
but
know, I
I'm
guess that's
looking
something.
here at this clip. They have a and I mentioned the
Yeah,
task
but
force. You are
mhm.
you are a former um, you're a former police officer, or what I called you again when you started is this American American terminology, law enforcement
Mhm.
officer. What
Mhm.
is your view in terms of, you remember there's something called the task force? They dress in blue, and it's
Mhm.
almost like they carry heavy duty weapons. I call them heavy duty weapons, and they're dressed in body armor and all that kind of thing. I've seen them in operations sometimes at night. What is your view in terms of that type of thing? And in a moment, as soon as you finish that, we want to slip into this mic on the move because I believe it may be touching on a number of these areas. But what is your view of the involvement of the task force in dealing with some of this serious crime?
You know, the Royal Barbados Police Service now is quite an interesting um, organization because back in my days, a few years back, well, um, we stood up for discipline, and of course, in those days, there weren't the cameras. Everybody now has a phone. Everybody's being recorded. Everybody's being taken to the court. Before you can get back to the police station, good, everything going viral. So the police now, they're operating in a totally different environment. But I would want to endorse, um, in a very significant way, the task force, because the task force has been designed to deal with the criminal level, you know, that displays themselves in a more profound way, right? And one that really institutes quite a lot of challenges for the general community. So when it's time to step it up, as we would call it, the task force steps in, you
Hmm.
know.
Hmm.
Um, but what has stepped into our society now is this whole idea of social media. And the social media, the police also now do have a challenge, and a very significant one, because in my day, that wasn't the case. So when you're caught out there and you are doing something of a criminal element, you will be raked off of the street, you'll be raked out of the house, and you're into the police station. And when you come out, you will be calm, cool, and collective. You know,
I,
calm,
I,
cool, and collective.
I'm,
But I'm saying that kind of policy we had free will to do back then. But now, with social media in place,
that
the the,
becomes
the, the, the
increasingly
police
difficult.
force have got to be very
Very
considerate,
careful.
because the
Yeah,
the lawyers out there
ready to.
waiting and
Yeah.
ready to put you
Mhm.
before the court. So you between a rock and a hard place.
Yes, yes. Well, let's take a look at this mic on the move that Marcia has prepared, and I'll come back to a comment that has been made here in the chat because there are a number of different viewpoints on the matter of disciplines and styles and so on. And there's a comment here that I want to share with you and just get your response to it. All right, but let's go to the mic on the move. This is in Barbados, I understand, and let's see what Barbadians are saying. just waiting for them to bring that up. And while they're doing that, I'm looking at special task force to fight crime. I think a special task force, Victor, was actually established. I
Mm.
believe so, some time ago. I don't know what the
in Parliament right now. So we're just asking Barbadians, what do they think? Do they think that removing the tint from the cars, if it will help to reduce crime?
No, because the motorcycles, they can do drive-by on motorcycles. Motorcycles doesn't have tint.
People walk and do crime.
People walk and do crime. So you don't think that, because you're saying people use motorcycles,
You can use a motorcycle.
You can use a bicycle.
a bicycle?
You can walk.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. If your money is set to do crime, you are going to do crime regardless of what form of transportation you have.
Yes, but I mean, do you understand though that the government is saying you have to pay $500 if you have tint on your car? You'll be fined.
But that's yes, which is good. Tint, they reducing the tint because then you can see it.
But you don't think that it's going to really reduce the crime?
No, I don't.
You don't think it's connected?
You shouldn't cut out tint completely. You could reduce the
What they need to
tint
do is
percentage
really
because
find a
it does
solution
protect
to deal
people's
with it.
skin with eczema and stuff like that. But you should not completely ask persons to take it off parts. You shouldn't.
But some cars, somebody told me, actually come with it.
Yeah.
You buy the car with the tint.
So will the government, will the everybody in parliamentarians, everybody will they be taking off tint? as
Well, apparently there are certain officials that their tint remains.
What was for watching?
They should reduce the tint, yes, because then you can see any activity within. But what they need to do, not only the tint, but they need to get stiffer penalties for these people that committing these crimes because it's just a slap on the wrist.
So you think a more comprehensive approach
Yeah.
and not focused so much on the tint? Wow. Okay, what about
It's the mindset of the people.
The
It doesn't have-
mindset.
it doesn't have anything to do with tint. Yeah, cut, lower the percentage, but it is also the mindset of the people.
the mindset? So we need to work on that mindset, and you said to stiffer legislation.
They,
So
they need it. Because
So-
I mean, they're just holding these people and sending them up there to do what? Eat out the taxpayers' money?
yes,
That's it.
yeah,
No.
okay.
They need,
Okay.
No,
They need better.
more stern measures.
Yes.
With this crime, they do.
Yes,
Because you have
yes.
to think, you see how these people are thinking, you have to think two steps
Think
and 10
two steps ahead. Understood.
Yeah.
Okay. No, ma'am. Believe me, they understand. The camera is on me, right? You understand that, right? No lens is there. Look, if you can look to see, but it's just me, and it's pointing over there. I would not do that. Okay, ladies, which school is this again? Dighton Griffith. And you would know the little boy, from Leicester Vaughan, the 13-year-old. You heard about him who got killed. What? Siobhan.
You mean the boy from
He went to lodge. You heard about it? Yeah, because I figure. No, with what they're trying to do, the government, is to try to reduce crime. And one of the things that they're doing is to remove the tint, asking people to remove the tint from their cars, or you will have to be fined. Do you think there's a correlation between tint and the murders that's happening in Barbados? And the crime on a whole?
Not sure because really all tint does do is play the faces in the car, but even without the tint, people will still commit crimes with the car, so it don't really matter the car, it matters the people inside the car.
So in your mind, you think it doesn't matter? You think?
Whether the tint is there or not, it's
I'm
not
coming
stopping
close so I
anybody.
can hear you, huh?
Yeah, whether the tint is there or not, it's not stopping anybody. Because like even though his windows are open, or if he ain't got nothing, he can still pick up a gun and shoot you through the window. So yeah, really not making a difference.
Right. You don't. What do you think, ma'am?
I would say same.
The same thing as her. Are you concerned about the crime, the level of crime in Barbados?
I haven't really thought about it.
You haven't really thought about it. How about you?
I mean, it's dangerous for the young people to be outside now, but other than that, I don't really think about it.
You don't really think about it, but you think that you don't see the correlation between the tint and the crime. You know, making sense. All right. Thank you all so very much. Yes. All right. And stay safe. Okay.
Stiffer penalties.
Huh?
Stiffer penalties.
Stiffer penalties
Yeah,
is
that's
what
what they want.
stiffer penalties.
They're making it too easy. They're making it too easy for these people when they go up there. I'm not saying that everybody up there, some do get reformed, some change.
Yes.
And then sometimes when they come out, they go and back up with the same thing.
Come back
and
out
then
worse.
When they come out, out worse.
Understood.
Yes.
Understood.
Representatives,
Yes.
please.
Okay. All the best. Okay. Bye bye. Thank you. Right. Hi, ladies. Hello. Can I ask you a question? The camera is not on you. Believe me, the lens is pointing at me. But you had CXC today? I was wondering why some. Hold on. Why so many of you are on the street today? What subject you did? Come on, this way. English, eh? Oh, no plan. You mash it up. Easy. You did the all the different sections. You completed.
We answer everything.
Oh, just a multiple choice. So we're getting a one. Ones. Give me knock. Knock for ones. All right. So let me ask you something. Right? You know there's a lot of crime in Barbados right now. You are aware, right? We know about Jonathan Chase last night, a 17-year-old cricketer. You heard about him? He was shot. I think they need blood for him. I hope he pulls through, right? Right now, the government though came up with this idea that to fight crime, one of the things they want to do is to remove the tints from the cars. Do you think that removing the tint will stop the murders?
No.
Why? What do you mean no?
That had take long time and murders are still going on. So even when people are gonna take for their car, crime was still gone.
So you don't think so?
Yeah, because people walking about and doing it just like that.
So you're saying it don't have nothing to do with the tint? Oh boy.
Because people just walking about and doing it and walking.
So what if you were to talk, because they're saying that people will have to pay $500, a lot of money. You know, if they're caught with the tint. Look at all these cars have tint. So I mean, what would you say? I know you're young people, but if you could say something to those in charge, what would you tell them? That they what?
No foolish.
That they're foolish?
Treating the wrong thing. Yeah. A man with nothing can walk past and shoot a man and go along.
Right.
Exactly. Like that time when the old man get robbed in broad daylight. That was broad daylight when a man walking on the road.
So that, and you're saying that didn't have anything to do with tint?
Some people just want things to block the sun.
To block the sun?
For no other reason.
Just to block the sun. So do you think right now they're
expensive, so you want somewhere good, go and get things, then go get tackle. They making the same.
But some of the cars, you know, they come with the tint.
Exactly.
Right. Well, you know, I guess they're doing different things, you know. What do you suggest to stop the crime? What would you suggest?
Honestly, I don't know. More police on the road.
You want more police on the road?
Stop crime. So it's gonna keep happening.
They can't stop the crime. It's not gonna. Yeah. Okay. Understood. Well, girls, all the best.
Thanks.
You have paper 2 yet?
We already paper two.
Okay. And you have English B yet?
You do English B? Yeah. For a paper two already.
A paper 2. All the best. Stay focused and work hard, you know, so that after it finish you have a lots of fun and stay safe in the summer. Okay? Blessings. Yes. All right. Great chatting with you. Yes. Hello, ma'am. Hi. The camera is not on you. It's on me. I wanted to ask you about, you know, the level of murders and so on in Barbados, and the fact that the government has come up with this idea so that they remove the tints from the cars. Do you think that is going to stop the murders and the crime?
No,
Why not?
because I don't think that it has nothing to do with tinting.
You don't think that the murders and crime have anything to do with the tinting? Wow, so you think that they're going down the wrong road?
Not really, but I still feel that should still remove the tint from car.
Right, but you still don't think it has anything to do? You know that it's $500 fine if you...
I know.
You heard all about it?
Yes.
What do you think about where they say, well, tint must go, but not from certain people, so certain officials will keep their tint?
Oh, I know that.
Yeah, what do you feel about that?
I feel that you should remove the tint.
From everybody?
Yes.
From everybody, not just some?
Yes.
You still feel that it don't have anything to do with the crime? Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. Hello. Camera is not on you, it's on me. We're just asking about the tint and crime. Do you think that there's a relationship with the tint, removing the tint and reducing the crime?
Right, I really don't know, honestly.
You're not sure?
No, I'm not sure.
All right, okay, all right. So there you have it, guys. We have some mixed reviews. Hello, ma'am. You're smiling with me. Can I chat with you? You're going in? Can't come in? I wanted to talk to you about the tint. Do you think the tint is going to help with the crime that we're having? Why not? Because I mean, we had up to last night we had two murders. And huh? You don't think so? No? Okay. All righty. Anybody else want to talk about the tint? You think tint's going to help with the crime? Yeah. Anybody want to talk to me? Tint is going to help with the crime?
Well, Victor, I'm listening to these responses. What is clear is that the majority of people interviewed, and I dare say if you went across Barbados, if Marcia could go through every parish in this country, and even if she was stop on the highway and stop every vehicle on the highway, I am going to guarantee you that 98% of the people will not be able to see a correlation between crime and death. I can guarantee you that. Because again, I hear people say, they should take off the tint and so on. And at the start of the program, I don't know if you heard when I began the program tonight, I come from the automotive industry, and I represented one of the leading luxury brands in the world. And the vehicles came with tinted glass all around, what we call green glass. If you put it next to a plain glass, you can see the distinct difference between the glass that is what we call green glass, which is actually a glass designed to reduce the amount of ultraviolet rays that enter the vehicle, to cut down the amount of toxicity produced by heating the plastic inside of the vehicle as a result of sunlight, and the ordinary glass on a vehicle. We even have vehicles that came with what we call double pane glasses, 2 panes of glasses, okay? And the back glasses came tinted. You couldn't remove it, okay? And as a result of that, I couldn't understand the rationale. It makes me wonder if the Attorney General has done any research on the matter. I picked up this video, Victor. I picked up this video today. Somebody put it on my Facebook page for me. And I sent it to Dave, and I asked Dave, I said, Dave, please do me a favor. Run this video for me tonight. And let him run it, and then you can comment. And I don't know if Rose can hear us, because we're going to be going into we're in our call-in segment at the moment for you in the loyal opposition, 2367000. And I don't know if Rose is hearing me, but we want to be able to have her back in as well, that she can contribute. She's in the green room, I believe. So Rose, if you're hearing me, just put on your camera, and I'll see the camera come on and bring in out of the green room. But Dave, play that for me so that Victor can see it and the loyal opposition can see it, so we can hear what they think about this video.
Taint. Then Alfonso here. So, Mr. I can't stop crying, so I gonna stop the taint. AG at it again. From September, they're looking to charge motorists $500 for having car taint. $500 then. Is this the AG way of trying to get back that $240,000 in court damages they had to pay for not prosecuting cases on time? Or another way of getting back that $300 that the government sent to people? And all the while the AG was in Parliament talking to people was getting shot, people getting robbed, even garbage men getting robbed now. And look at this, look.
Every Barbadian will be expected to comply with the legislation.
That is every Barbadian except for certain people. Because the way this unfair gorilla front law right, only big high-ranking people gonna be able to use dark tape. Once the pleb poor people gonna go drive around in hot sun. So you got the sun killing you, in addition to the bullets that the AG can't stop. And on top of that, the carjackers gonna now be able to see exactly who in the car, so they can target the... Just like what happened to this old man.
You're gonna get your old man, or you're gonna let me shoot you?
And you see these headlines? 21 murders so far for the year, and... Wait, does the AG that say? Well, at least it's good to know he ain't letting this high murder rate keep it down. Anyways, to hear members of the public crying out,
And I would love the government to do something for these guns.
and instead of we importing the voices to help detect drugs and guns, we bring in the voices to detect foolish think. Make it make sense? This is beer think ignorance with a capital E.
We can laugh at this, Victor. I mean, I didn't know. First of all, I didn't know ignorance was spelled with a capital E. That's the first thing I didn't know. But listen, seriously, I wonder. I have been asking myself this question for a long time, and don't forget, folk, this is your call-in segment. 2367000. We want to hear from you. This is the opportunity you get. And as long as you call, as soon as Marcia indicates to me, Dave indicates to me they have a call, myself and Victor will entertain your call. But Victor, what I keep asking in my mind is, does the government engage people before it establishes policy? Or do they just sit down in a room and come up with ideas and don't know what in the name of God they're doing, and just take something to Parliament as an attempt to show that they're trying to do something?
I see this post here by Carol
By
Lewis.
Lewis?
Yes, there is a tent policy in Trinidad and Tobago, yet 600 murders last year. Tent does not
Affect
affect
crime.
You know, um, you see, I am seeing this whole tent policy. There was a question there, a comment made also about St. Gabriel's School. I want for us to get back to that because I think that is very noteworthy.
And not crossing you, another one was made a little earlier too about the fact that a lot of the guys that you're seeing now dying with the hair you described actually went to school well groomed.
Well groomed.
Well groomed. Now I don't know. That was the comment that was made. I don't know the persons who have been affected where this criminal activity is concerned, what they were like when they were at school. But the comment was made, and I was just trying to locate it. But that was also made. So the two of those together. Go ahead.
Yeah, but I want for us to comment on that St. Gabriel's one. But yeah, that's the comment there. Do we have these issues in the schools at St. Gabriel's? If not, why? That is a very interesting observation. And I would really love for Mike on the move. Not having visited um, the school there, Dighton Griffith, and maybe the other schools, and get some comments. We need to look at other sides of the coin. We know what's happening at Frederick Smith. We know what happened at Princess Margaret. I want to hear what's happening at St. Gabriel's School.
And St. Winifred's.
And St. Winifred,
and People's Cathedral and the Seventh
Yes.
Adventist School out there at the Beckles Road, going across by the Savannah.
Yes. I would want to for us not to necessarily interview management, but to see these individuals on the streets and let us capture, what are we seeing when we compare the optics that we see going in and out of our known high schools, those in the deeper public sector, and compare them to the private institutions. Are we being led in the wrong direction? And that's very much rhetorical, but of course we're being led in the wrong direction, because what's happening now with our society, I mean, it is very disgraceful. I mean, I don't know.
I wonder too, Victor, when people come up with these policy decisions, do they understand the implications and the communication that is being sent to our younger generation when you just come up with a policy. There's a comment, for example, here. Natasha Hope makes this comment. She says, so did these brainstormers think about the exposure to the toxins released by the plastic in the cars after being exposed by this to the sun without the tint? Natasha, you're absolutely correct. And this is why I raise the point. Government continues to come up with policy. They come up with youth policy, but they have no dialogue with the young people. They come up with agriculture policy, but they don't have no dialogue with the people who working in the fields. They come up with policy to do with education. They don't sit down and talk with the teachers, the parents. They have no dialogue. I am talking about substantive dialogue. I'm not talking about facilitating a photo op where you go into a meeting and you get up and say what you have to say, but you can't entertain hard telling questions and input from other people who don't agree with you. Victor, when I started the session tonight, because obviously this matter of the tint, and while I don't think people understand that the two are not that devoid of connection, where we talk about the matter of schools and so forth and the matter of the tints and these types of things, they're not that devoid, because you heard the Attorney General make this statement. Every Barbadian is expected to comply with the law. Whatever happened to we are in this together? You would remember that, Victor. If we're in this together, is the Prime Minister going to comply with the law? Is the Attorney General going to comply with the law? Is the Commissioner of Police going to comply with the law? Because we're supposed to be in this together.
They don't have to take their vehicles to the pine for inspection. Their vehicles are not going to go over 10 years. Their vehicles are not going to be subjected to going to a garage for a roadworthy certificate. So that is a tool being used to get back the $300 plus more. That
So
along with the tint.
you're saying it is a tax then?
Of course.
Because
Of course it is a tax.
when you look at a person now, because you see again, the Attorney General doesn't understand this. If everybody in this country or anybody in this country who has tint on their glasses have to remove it, they have to take it to somebody who knows what they're doing, Victor, and that costs. And we don't even know what the cost of that is. I'm serious, I mean, because you will see sometimes, the people put on the tint and it begins to peel. And if you hold that tint and just peel it off, there's a whole residue left on the glass. And more often than not, the majority of Barbadians don't know how to get that residue off that glass. Sometimes people employ WD-40, but it doesn't always work because not all tints are equal, if you follow what I'm saying. And so it's not just a $500 fine, because then they're going to have to make an appointment to have that removed. So, it's just ludicrous. It's absolutely ludicrous.
You see, Dr. Ferdinand, there is um there is this technology now that most likely will be in Barbados, facial recognition technology.
It's here already. It's
Right.
here already. A number of the cameras that you see on the highway, particularly the big ones, those big cameras, not the little ones, the big ones.
Yeah, the big ones.
They're facial recognition cameras.
Right. And though that facial recognition technology could only be effective if the tint is of a certain percentage. Now, if the law is being mobilized because of that, ensuring that the technology can benefit the people of Barbados because of the law being enforced that 20% or under for tint is accepted because the technology can operate with that level of percentage. One can understand that. But I took my vehicle, Hilux, right? To MTW to do a weight. And all the guy had to do was to look and see that my chassis number and engine number is as stated. Stamp and give me it. But no, he tell me he will not be inspecting, he will not be weighing my vehicle unless I get the tint of my vehicle removed.